Welcome to another exciting episode of the Business of Digital podcast, featuring your hosts, Matt Siltala and Dave Rohr. Hey guys, excited to have you join us on another Business of Digital podcast. As always, I got my trusty sidekick over there. Hey Dave.
Hello, senor.
How you doing today, my friend?
I'm going to rant today, I think.
Yes, this is going to be the Dave rant cast.
I don't know if it's a rant, but it started as a rant, and then what it'll become, I do not know.
And just to let you guys know, by the time that you're listening to this and it's live, you're going to know the actual title of this. But I think we have a few running titles for it in our head, and one of them could be missing the obvious clues. One of them could be what, Dave?
It was from what I stole it from someone's talk that I saw a week or two ago. It was when best practice isn't always best practice, or
when best practices aren't always best practices.
Yeah, something like that.
So it's in the air, guys, but you know it already now because you're listening
like
to it.
Something like that.
So yeah, let's go ahead and just jump into it, Dave. And what kind of prompted you, and what made you want to jump into this?
There's probably like 4 different things, and before we always get on here, we always talk about them, and I went into all 4, and all 4 of them are weirdly different. So
well, that's good though.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, what it all comes down to, just like we all see what we want to see, or we're our bias.
Wait. Humans are biased? No.
Yeah, we are.
No.
So, yeah. Well, there's some of us that think Google's out to do harm to, our site and industry, but we're just an innocent bystander. That was kind of one example where everyone, Google's going to do what they're going to do. Bing's going to do what they're going to do. Facebook. I saw someone complain the other day about, Facebook. Their CTO or CFO got their account closed by Bank of America, and they were complaining that how dare Bank of America just close his account, yet Facebook does that and just shuts down advertisers all the time. So,
for no reason.
Yeah, for no reason. They've
funny.
been abiding by all rules. They haven't done anything shady in affiliate, and here
Karma's a what.
And their agency or the client or a small business who was running something has now been shut down. It's not fair where they singled out. I don't know. Maybe they thought they were doing everything right, but sometimes maybe there's some weird rule, or who knows.
Yeah.
So there's that. There's the whenever someone asks a question on like a Google Hangout, and then lots of us that are agency or consultants then have a client read that and say, oh, nope, this is what Google said. They said we have to do this. And it's like, that was on a different CMS. That was also 6 months ago. There's also like all these other circumstances that had them answer it in a certain way.
I also think it's funny, and I don't know why it made me think of this, but I don't want to throw any specific person under the bus or whatever. That's not our intent of the show, but I think it's funny too, because I read recently somewhere there was a publication on a major site, and a lot of the SEO community got an uproar of it, like we own the right to be the only ones that can write about SEO or social or whatever, and that made me laugh.
Well, they did misquote a lot of people and do a bad job, but that's
a different story. But it's not. But my point is, it's not like we as the industry have we don't own the exclusive rights to be able to talk about it. But anyway.
So yeah, there's that. What was the other example? Oh, best practice. Like for social media side, there's always studies, and I just saw a study recently for SEO, but always post at Tuesday at 4:00.
Yeah.
And I know Carrie, who's probably listening to this, asked recently, and other people have always asked, and we've always asked, like, when's the best time to post? I don't know. Even for podcasts, it's like we do it on Sunday mornings because that's when I process it.
It's like when people ask, what's the best camera to use? The one that you have in your hand. And so, like, if
Canon.
Well, I agree. But
sorry, Brian. Canon.
But my point too is, like, if Sunday, like with us, with all that we got going on and all that we do, if Sunday evening is the best time because it's the only time that we can get to doing that, then that's the best time. But it's like you were mentioning before we started recording that, sometimes what was the best practice for someone 4 years ago in a study is no longer the case today.
Correct.
And it could be a different industry altogether, completely different in the times that they, the habits, whether it be working moms or stay-at-home moms or dad, you know what I'm saying? It just, they're, and I hate using the it depends, but it depends.
It really does. Well, so we always post on Sundays, and I promote, although I've been so crazy busy traveling and stuff the last couple of weeks, I've been bad about like social promotion. But I've always tried to do different things, and does one work or the other? I don't know. I tried posting on Mondays. I've tried posting on Wednesdays.
Well, I mean, and you've explained things to me that make sense too, and like there is reasons why you do certain things. Like we want, if you get on there Sunday evening, by Monday, the time it rolls around, it's updated on all the like feeds, whether it be Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, etc. So like there is a method to our madness, but what you're saying is, it could be completely different. Like we could be missing the boat and needing to do this on Thursday night, but it works for us, and that's what we do.
So far, it could change.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing too that's good for people to hear is like, if you have the ability to test it and you have the time and you could figure that out, then it's okay to change. It's okay to do that. So.
Well, and then there's just the best practices, like for how long content has to be. Like if just because every other page that's ranking is 1,000 words or 100 words, there could be so many other things that are going on. Those could all be brands that have been around for 10 years and there's no one that's, newer. Well, they've got link equity, they've got brand, they've got, all these different things why they rank. The personalization of because you check it every day. There's just so many different things that best case for this industry versus the other one, it's not always the same. And so I think those are some clues, but then there's also just, in general, when we ask questions, I think sometimes we want it spoon-fed to us. The clients do, and we do, even from the clients, we ask a question and they tell us, but we're so busy and so focused on, what was that one KPI? And we miss them talking about something that's even bigger than that question, that one thing we think we need, or that one thing we're trying to get to, that we miss that they've actually are talking about something much bigger and grander, and that it would be like, oh my gosh, that would be like 50 projects and we could, just blow the doors off of things. But you're so focused on that one wrong thing. Maybe you think it's right, but it's wrong. I don't know.
No, I totally get that. Yeah.
I've only been ranting for 5 minutes. I'll let you talk now.
Well, it also, missing the obvious clues, and I don't know if this is, and I chatted with you about this a little bit, but so I don't know if it's exactly along those same lines, but it's also on those things where, all of last week and all of the beginning of this week, I just saw so many people talking about how horrible that North Dakota campaign was for, we're on meth, or North Dakota, we're on meth, or something like that. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
And
I saw it a couple times.
Yeah, and it was funny when I first saw it. I was like, man, they paid someone $500,000 almost to do that and this and that. And then I started thinking about it. Everyone was talking about it, and I was thinking, okay, well, for that kind of coverage, and now it's everywhere, and I'm seeing it on the news, and I'm seeing everyone in my circle share it, and everyone on Reddit is sharing it, and this and that. I'm like, you know what? That's a pretty dang good campaign for, only spending that much money, and maybe that was their intent. Maybe we did. Maybe some of the obvious clues were missed. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and then there's also times where other people are like, we need to copy their landing page. It's like, but why? Well, because they're number one in paid search. So therefore, they must be spending a lot of money, and therefore their landing page must be the right one. So and we're not doing that exact same thing. So we need to completely copy it.
The FOMO, the fear of missing out of what someone else is doing, and it's not always.
Well, how about we test these things first?
Yeah.
You
For
know,
sure.
it's there might be other things going on. They might have this might be a loss leader. They might be using it for retargeting, and you know, they might have a much better quality score than you have right now because there's only specific keywords and they're really zeroing in on something. Or maybe they have a special where internally they have a goal to get a certain type of business. You know, maybe they're targeting small businesses only in a certain town, or they only want manufacturers of metal type products, or I don't know, whatever it is. And whatever they're doing, you don't know their intent, you don't know the history, you don't know why they're doing it, what they're doing exactly. Do they just have a new flock of salespeople that are bored and they've got extra budget, so they're just throwing money at it? That's why, you know, suddenly they've amped it up. Maybe they're falling short somewhere else and they need more leads and sales that quarter or month. I think we all just look at it and we're like, oh, that must be it. But I think, if anything, stop and ask questions. Don't just assume that what someone is doing is correct or the best way.
You know, I feel like,
in.
well, I feel like this is very good advice because a lot of people in our industry, and I know that we talked a little bit about, you know, at conferences before we started recording, but like, you know, this is really good for you. Just, you know, when you go to and listen to someone at a conference and trying to interpret what they said. A lot of times you can miss. Well, and you mentioned it earlier, talking about how, you know, sometimes we take Google for saying something and it's completely taken out of context, and I just think, like you said it perfectly right there. We just have to dig in and we have to figure it out, and we can't just take things at face value. Sometimes we have to like dig a little bit and test a little bit and figure it out, because what they may be saying on the surface is not exactly what they're saying, you know, in real world scenarios or something like that. I don't know.
Well, and it's, I won't use my wife as an example because she'll kill me. When I ask the kids what they're doing and they say nothing. No, you're not. Good Lord, no, you're not doing nothing. What are you doing? Nothing. What were you just doing a second ago?
Example.
Nothing. Like, no, there's a lot of clues there. I'm not even, obvious clues are really strong there. And I think, yeah, it goes back to when a client says something, or even internally, when I was in-house, when people are talking about a problem or a goal, I think we often just go, okay, that's the project. Yep, that's what we have to do. And as an SEO or a digital marketer or marketer in general, for clients and internal, it's like, all right, well, we need this landing page. I think a lot of times, and I had a friend who ran into a lot of problems working with some internal people because they always thought he was destroying their idea, but actually he was just asking questions. He was like, well, when do we need it? Why do we need it? Who is the target? Like, what audience are we going for? What's the budget? What's the time frame? Like, he would just ask lots of questions so he could understand what he's got 50 other projects going on. He wants to understand where the priority is, where the scope is. Are we already targeting something like this? Because there's 8 different people doing 30 different things and not all of them are talking, and it'll always go through him. And he was the only one that saw 3 similar projects come in, or 2 similar projects come in, or things that actually went against each other in weird ways. Like, I want to make this change to this page. I want to make this change to this page. He's like, well, hold on. Susie over here and Tiffany over here basically want to change the same page with different stuff. And neither of them knew. And they always just thought he was crushing their hopes and their dreams and their projects, but he was just asking questions.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it wasn't what the goal of the project was sometimes it was a good intent, but it was it was going to be a really bad and was not going to work, the execution, no matter what they did.
So, just kind of wrapping things up here, Dave, what would you suggest to those listening to us to help them miss less of those opportunities or less of those obvious clues, and to get good, as the kids say these days?
To get good. if you're listening to a client or coworker or a speaker or, Google or, someone on TV talking, I always I don't want to say I question their motives, but I do. What are their motives? What are they doing? But what are they trying to get to? Are they trying to convince me of something? Are they trying to sell me on something? But if it's internal coworkers, I ask the same questions, or even clients, but I also try to understand what's the long play, what's the long-term goal. Like, we want to improve this page. Why? What are we trying to get to? Oh, you're trying to do that. Oh, okay. Oh, so what are we trying to do with that overall? And then try to keep building it up all the way up the funnel as far as I can to understand how this one little project can do much more, maybe. Because I think when we don't know the whole picture and we don't ask questions, you are going to miss those things, or you're going to make assumptions and you're going to be wrong.
Very good. Very good. I like that.
I don't know. Maybe you are right all the time and I'm just bad.
Well, we do have quite a few years of experience to look back onto, and so we're not just like pulling this out of thin air. So,
or maybe I
am.
Maybe you're missing the obvious clues.
Dave, am I missing the obvious clues on this one?
Yes, you totally are.
So,
there was a motive
all right,
behind
so
this,
everybody,
and I'm just not telling you.
Don't listen to a word that Dave just said. Go about your day. No,
just be like my kids. Let me
How was your
repeat
day?
it 4 more times.
Fine. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us on this one, and we appreciate your the fact that you take your time and listen to these. And so, for Dave Rohr with Northside Metrics, I'm Matt Siltel with Avalanche Media, and we can't wait to have you back on another one. Bye, guys.
Thanks all.